I've been dreaming about my perfect plus-size gothic Loli outfit since I was a teenager. But between the price and lack of size range, I've never had the opportunity to buy one.
Welcome back. Last week, I spent a lot of my remaining time before my friend's costume party attempting to fix the sailor collar. My time is winding down a bit, but I still have about 2 weeks before this outfit needs to be finished. There have been a few parts like gathering the blouse and making the leaves which were really time consuming, but so far things are shaping up pretty much how I imagined they would be. I am really proud of this because one of the challenges that every artist faces is learning how to make the image in their head into reality. It has taken me years of practice to get to a point where I can reliably recreate the things that I envision, and I can't help but feel pride when I overcome a challenge that I set for myself because of this. And today, I will be meeting my next challenge by finally finishing the sleeves to the blouse. Hopefully I can avoid any unexpected disasters because I haven't even started on the skirt yet. I am so glad to have you here. This is Crafter of Many Kinds.
I've been working on the pumpkin spice Loli outfit for about a month now, but today I am finally going to be pulling all the hard work that I've done on the blouse together. I've been really looking forward to putting these sleeves together because they're just so ridiculous and fanciful, and I can't help but imagine how much I'm going to enjoy swishing around in them at the party. But before that, I actually have to put this crazy contraption together. The sleeve will be made up of 4 parts. The top will be a normal-looking sleeve cap made out of the tan mesh that will closely match the size of my arm and the armhole of the blouse. I'll then cut out a much larger piece, which I'll gather along the edges to match up with the lower sleeve. When it's finished, it'll probably look a bit like a bubbly mess. The hope is that from the side, it'll give us this nice ruffled puff look. The lower part of the sleeve will be formed out of a large rectangle. I'll gather the top to match the lower part of the upper sleeve, and then the bottom of the rectangle will be gathered to match the width of the cuff. The sleeve will then be closed using a button. Because I'm gathering such a large amount of fabric into a 9-inch cuff, that's really going to give me this glorious poof. Once all the pieces are gathered up, I'll run them through the sewing machine to fix them into place, and I should end up with a piece that looks roughly like this. Before I do all that though, I'll have to attach all the leaves to the lower part of the sleeve. I'm hoping that with the see-through nature of the fabric and the ruffle on the sleeves, that it'll invoke this sort of idea of falling leaves. The first thing I'll be doing is attaching the gathered part of the upper sleeve, starting with the lower straight edge and then making the upper portion of the sleeve... wait a second, that's not right. I'll be cutting out a piece much larger than the upper sleeve cap, gathering it in to create the upper puff sleeve, and I will just do that perfectly this time, off camera. But now it's time to get back to my favorite thing, embroidery floss. It may seem like I'm putting the leaves really far apart, but with how much they'll be gathered, these will look really dense when I'm done. I'm also only putting them near the bottom of the sleeves so they won't interfere with the upper gathering. Well, there's one. Now just 59 more to go. I'll just kick back and watch some Outlander and... what? This was the real weather alert that I got on my computer on the day of the storm.
So it's about a week or so before the party. It turns out an atmospheric river storm is passing over our house at the moment.
No, don't get in the way, Loki.
The main problem, as you can see that I'm filming in the dark, is that our power has gone out, and they're expecting that it's not going to come back on for 3 days. We do have a generator. It's at, I think, like 70% right now, and we have to somehow make that last over the next couple of days. So I will be filming the rest of making the leaves via flashlight. Wish me luck.
So, to save my sanity as well as to save energy, I decided against filming the rest of attaching the leaves. You'll just have to imagine how horrible it was with no heat, only being able to use flashlights, limited power, barely any 5G connection, and worst of all, not being able to watch any Outlander. It's okay. It's fine. I could just make my own Outlander. It'll be fine. It'll probably be great. Yeah, no worries. I've got this. I love you, Claire. Let's go to the future together. Oh, Jamie. But could you ever survive in the modern era with your barbaric ways? Mwah, mwah, mwah. Mwah. Mwah, 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 mwah. The storm was so bad that it ended up causing a small landslide at the end of our road and also knocking down a couple of trees. I ended up having to stay home from work because of the road closures and because of how dangerous it actually was outside. Talking with some longtime locals, they were pretty much like, yeah, this is how every storm is here, which makes me actually really nervous. We ended up leaving our generator on overnight so that we would have power in case of an emergency, like us having to be evacuated. But our generator was down to almost 40% when we woke up the next day. We had to place an emergency propane order to keep our generator running, but due to the high demand and all of the road closures, there was no telling of when they would actually get to us. We ended up just turning the generator off during the day so that we could try to just conserve as much as we could. We had been told when we bought the house that the generator could run the house for 7 days without power, but obviously when we had this one, we discovered that that was not true. Luckily, on day 3, the propane company was finally able to make it out to us just in time for PG&E to put our power back on. I just decided to keep plugging away at the project because I was stuck inside the house anyway, so I was just going to make the most of it. I had a lot of time to think about things while I was quietly working on those sleeves, and specifically about how I've actually fallen into the habit of only making nice things for other people. I rarely ever make costumes for myself, mostly because I didn't have much space to store anything big, but also because I don't really like looking at my own work once it's finished. For me, the draw of doing a project isn't so much what I'll end up with afterwards, but the enjoyment that I'll get out of the time I spend working on it. I hear this is a common thing among crafters. It's like the physical manifestation of saying, it's not the destination, but the journey. However, this inevitably leads to that awkward moment when I tell someone I'm a costumer and they ask to see my work. I've gotten a bit better at trying to document my projects in the last few years, but for the most part, a lot of the things I've made, I've either given it away, it belongs to an entertainment company that doesn't allow pictures, or it was a commission and the person who got it didn't send me like professional photos afterwards. Besides that, the last time that I had professional pictures done of my work was probably 2016. It's been almost 2 years since I've made anything for myself, and that's actually because I find wearing my own costumes really stressful. I feel a lot of pressure while wearing them because I'm having to represent my own art on my own body while probably also attending an event. I don't like doing things in half measures, so whenever I wear one of my outfits, I feel like I have to exude the kind of energy and confidence that goes along with one of these outfits, and I find that really stressful. Despite how it may seem, I don't actually thrive on being the center of attention, but it tends to be impossible to hide when you're like wearing a giant harpy outfit or you're dressed as a 4-foot train and a cape as well. There have been so many times where I showed up to an event dressed way more boldly than I actually felt, and often spent most of my time being embarrassed for being overdressed and trying to be humble while people complimented me on my outfit. I think there's definitely been times where I have regretted being so focused on making a good costume than actually wearing something I would be emotionally comfortable in. Almost always after these kinds of events, I have to spend a lot of alone time afterwards. My socialization meter is a bit like the recipe for rice. For every 1 part of energetic socialization I do, I need 2 parts of hiding alone in my cave. I tried my hand at cosplay when I was in my teens and early 20s, and I just found the whole thing utterly draining. I wore a lot of really uncomfortable things that would injure me or make me miserable because, for starters, I didn't have the skills yet to make clothes that really fit, and also because I thought that being in pain while wearing your costumes was just a badge of how hardcore you could be. For years, I'd been forcing myself to cosplay because I felt like everyone expected that as a costumer, I would always have the most amazing outfits, and I was always struggling to meet those invisible expectations. I eventually ended up forcing myself to stop after I realized that it made events that I was supposed to be enjoying just turn into giant stress and anxiety fests. I remember feeling completely free while running around a convention in jeans and a t-shirt for the first time. When I switched from sewing stuff for myself and instead to creating things for others, that was when I realized that most of my happiness came from actually making things instead of wearing them. But as the years have gone by, I have felt a hole in my craft because of this. I do have pride in my work when I show it off, and it is true that the easiest model who also shares my taste in design is myself. So I'm trying to push my own boundaries here. I think I can find that sweet spot where I can create clothes that I love and love to wear that won't be emotionally draining. My goal for this party is to still be wearing most of this outfit by the end of the night and not to be stressed about how I look. So please cheer me on while I try to test my boundaries one more time. And voila! With both of the sleeves put together and attached to the main part of the blouse, I've ended up with just the kind of flowy, fantasy, fall leaf sleeves that I was envisioning. They perfectly encompass my pumpkin spice dreams and... Hold on a second. Isn't something missing? Where's the frickin' ribbon? I originally added this to the design because I assumed this might need to cover up like a messy seam, but it turned out looking just fine. Well, we'll have to knock off a few points off the final score, but I'm still pretty happy with what I've ended up with.
Well, at least this week it was just the weather failing and not me. Our house didn't flood, we didn't freeze to death, a tree didn't fall on us, so honestly, I'm thinking this is pretty much a net positive. It does seem appropriate, though, that I had to make lantern sleeves by lantern. Now that my custom skirt fabric has arrived, I can finally start to wrap up this project. Join me next time as I'll be racing to the finish line to try to get this project done by next week. If you're excited to see how the rest of the outfit turns out, remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and you can also follow me on social media if you want to see what I'm up to during the week. I'm so glad to have you here. This is Crafter of Many Kinds.